Are you ready, paisas?
Sí!
I can hear you.
Sí!
Oh! Who lives in the pueblo with tacos galore?
Horchata!
Spicy and proud, he's Mexican to the core.
Horchata!
If salsa and sun are the life you pursue,
Horchata!
then grab a piñata, he's got one for you.
Horchata!
Fritanga place,
Horchata!
fritanga place,
Horchata!
fritanga place, fritanga place.
Horchata!
It's only been a few days since I revealed my face to you, and I'm already regretting it. Never before have I been flooded with so many unoriginal, boring memes that are not funny. Okay, well, some of them are funny. Either way, a promise was a promise. We hit 100K. Now you have to deal with my looks, just like I have to deal with your memes. Mutual destruction, as they say. Now, I just want to get into the news because it's hot as balls out here. There's nopal prickles all over my ass. And even though I am one of these people, they all think I'm white. But never forget, all of this is entirely 100% your fault, the viewers. Now I have to live the rest of my life being a meme, which isn't fair because I've never done that to anyone. Either way, let's dig into the news. Key cards, key cards, key cards, key cards. It's the talk of YouTube. Well, I mean, it is for people when they're short on news, but for me, I actually have general interest in this stuff. As a professional hater who has won many Hater of the Year awards, I can tell you, hating key cards is cool. Which is why you don't see Nintendo fanboys doing it. These guys dry out pussy so much, they couldn't be pushed out of their own mothers at birth.
Joel!
I'm suing, I'm on it.
Let me tell you one thing, the anger that these Nintendo soy jacks display when a game isn't entirely on an Xbox or a PlayStation disc is not the same energy they give Nintendo. Look, you've watched a bajillion videos on game key cards. The only difference is this is the only entertaining video on the subject. Because while other content creators cover it for people who actually bought this device and are concerned about it, my videos are to directly mock it. Cause I mean, I don't know what to tell you. If you're expecting sympathy out of me over your Nintendo problems, you've tuned into the wrong channel.
Close your heart to their desperation. Close your heart to their suffering. Do not allow yourself to feel for them. They will not feel for you.
Look, you'd have more luck measuring the weight of a human soul than you would measuring my hatred of Nintendo. The only thing Nintendo has going for them is their exclusives. Because just like every Nintendo device before for the last, I don't know what, like 20 plus years, multi-plats and third-party support have been complete ass. And just when you thought they were about to get it right with the Switch 2, they introduced game key cards, which now allows developers to treat Switch 2 users like complete trash and everybody else much better for some reason. If you own a Switch 2, third-party publishers don't even feel it's worth it to let you fully own a physical game, which is the whole point of consoles. And the reasons for this are all entirely Nintendo's fault and how they've decided to approach the storage capacity of these cartridges. Much like with the Nintendo 64, Nintendo has made production of physical media for their consoles significantly more expensive than the competitors. As we know, Blu-ray discs are significantly cheaper to produce than Switch cartridges. I don't know how much of a difference because it's so bad to the point developers don't want to eat that cost unless you're CD Projekt Red. Basically, if you're gonna release physical, and I mean actual physical media on the Nintendo Switch 2, you have to care enough. And, well, third-party publishers have shown us they don't care enough. And that's led Nintendo to actually releasing 2 surveys. That's right, there's a new survey on game key cards, but that's not what the video is about. As a matter of fact, we may actually have some good news today that is the result of people's quote-unquote whining and quote-unquote complaining online, as Nintendo guys would put it, which is sad to say, but if you want anything done, you can't rely on Nintendo's own fan base to get it done. Switch 2 game card maker Macronix to use MLC, NAND, and 3D NAND for varying capacity requirements. Memory manufacturer Macronix Electronics released its second quarter financials report for fiscal year 2025, confirming that the company will start using MLC, NAND, and 3D NAND to meet varying capacity requirements for its products, which primarily involve Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 game card production. This particular information may imply that Nintendo and Macronix are working together to bring more cartridge storage sizes for Switch 2 past the current maximum amount, which is 64 gigs per card. Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition is one of the most notable examples of Nintendo Switch 2 games that used a 64 gig game card. Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, Story of Seasons, Grand Bazaar, and Daemon X Machina Titan Scion are also shipping fully on the game card. The news comes shortly after Nintendo launched a customer survey to gauge feedback about physical game releases, game key cards, digital downloads, and digital code in box releases at retail. This survey gained traction only due to the growing disdain for game key cards, since many games are shipping as game key card titles without the full game data on the cartridge. The report notes that business at Macronix is closely influenced by the sales cycle of game consoles and demand for gaming software, and the company will continue to monitor relevant market trends.
This is worthless.
It's less than worthless, my boy.
Okay, I'm confused here because the problem isn't even the max capacity. The demand people actually had was for smaller cart sizes, because every single game that has been featured as a game key card can fit on cartridges that don't even exceed 24 gigs. The problem isn't that there isn't enough storage, it's actually quite the opposite. The problem is devs are only given the choice of high capacity or extremely low capacity. There's no in between, and thus, if games are smaller than the cart required, they just opt for a key card. I mean, that is honestly the best excuse I can give them. Truth be told, behind the scenes, it could just be a full-on takeover of physical media where they don't want you to own the games and rely on their servers in the future to regain access to them, which is a game developer and publisher's wet dream. And well, with how the current state of the industry is, it's impossible to be more charitable. After all, we did have a developer recently come out stating themselves that game key cards are the best choice for consumers, when such an opinion can clearly be tossed aside, seeing as how the gaming community doesn't react well when this happens to PlayStation and Xbox discs. In general, Nintendo didn't really need a survey to gauge this, and with the fiscal report of this company, it's blatantly obvious that game key cards are not doing so hot. Now, in theory, if game companies weren't so greedy, more varying capacity cartridges could solve a lot of the problems they are facing when it comes to not being able to deliver you a game entirely on an overpriced cart. Because keep in mind, during the Switch 1 era, there was some devs who were opting to not include the entire game on a cart, and a lot of that was due to the limitations and the price. However, there's explicitly nothing here that states that they would be making smaller carts for the Switch 2. As a matter of fact, bringing up the actual fiscal report from the Chinese website, there isn't even a mention of Switch 2 carts. As a matter of fact, all of this could be just entirely for Switch 1. The ROM tech that they provide is mainly all just for Switch 1. Now, that doesn't mean this tech isn't being switched out, no pun intended, for solely the Switch 1, because that would be ludicrous. The Switch 1 is on its way out. Why would they be trying to develop higher capacity storage carts for that device? It has to be for the Switch 2, even if it's not really explicitly stated there. This also goes in line with the recent surveys Nintendo released. They aren't gathering that info for nothing. Because as it stands, the current provider, actual provider of Switch 2 carts, is a different partner named ROM. You see, Macronix hasn't actually released any Switch 2 carts, even though that's what all these articles are running with. What's really happening here is that Macronix is waiting on Nintendo's demand for these varying capacity carts, because the current supplier seems to only have the higher storage capacity carts that are causing devs to opt for a game key card instead. And that's why that fiscal report could indicate a significant change. To me, it doesn't look like anything promising, but Nintendo fans are really hopeful that this could lead to game developers finally having the wiggle room to give them an entire game on a cart. But do you really think publishers who have now just figured out that they can put the cost on the consumer are going to pay out of pocket even when a solution is presented to them now? Well, if that fiscal report shows any indication that there's a demand for it, then maybe. But what we really have here is a serious case of hopium. Clearly, Nintendo fans and journalists alike really don't like key cards, and they're scrounging for any little bit of info they can find that gives Nintendo fans a sense of hope that things will be all right and they will get better. Nothing here is an official declaration that game key cards are going to go away permanently. That doesn't take away from the fact that what we have here is very interesting. I can see why a journalist would want to tie the game key card fiasco and this thing together and build a story that they personally would want to read. And to that I say, you have to be the change. You can't just put a story together like this and hope that that is what the truth will be. No, the truth is this: you have to stop buying Nintendo products. And that is very hard for all these Nintendo channels and gaming journalists to do. You don't want game key cards? Hurt Nintendo where it matters. But no, instead they opt to write articles and fabricate their own delusions and fabricate their own stories in the hopes that that will make the change instead of being the change themselves. That's too much hard work. You know, writing an entire article, reading what you want to read is so much less work than just closing your wallet, I guess. Because if there's one thing these guys are good at doing, it's telling you how much they don't like it, but they do a very poor job of showing that. Switch 2 key cards are going to have abysmal sales, and I mean record-breaking low sales if you want Nintendo to do something about it. But instead, they buy themselves a big old tank of hopium and just inhale the whole thing. And let me tell you something, as a nitrous addict, those hopium tanks look real dangerous. I couldn't imagine what that does to one's psyche. They are addicted to the idea of a better outcome more than they pursue an actual better outcome. But that's what I love about Nintendo guys though. It's just a sea of endless entertainment. For them, it's just too difficult to accept the reality that Nintendo has become just like every other publisher and gaming company they despise. And in some ways, Nintendo is even worse. If you truly want game key cards to be gone, you're gonna have to do a lot more than just upload a video. You're gonna have to outright stop buying any Nintendo products whatsoever. And unfortunately, when it comes to a situation like that, you have a much higher chance of the Epstein files being released than Nintendo fans boycotting anything. Like, comment, share, and subscribe on the road to 200,000. With that being said, I'll see you in the next video.
Fritongo sucks ass.